Um, Brandy, welcome.
How you doing?
Good, good. How you doing today?
I'm good.
Always a
Yes.
pleasure to hear from you.
Thank you. I know a lot of y'all do know me, but I'm gonna basically get into my history and why I'm here. I'm now 32, but believe it or not, I was born because of a domestic violence pregnancy, as well as surviving a late-term pregnancy termination with severe brain damage, cerebral palsy, hydrocephalus. I mean, my medical record probably goes this high, and I'm not kidding. The part of my brain, actually, when you look at it on a CT scan or an MRI, 3/4 of it is missing, including the part that's supposed to be for cognitive skills and all that kind of stuff. Every time I go for an MRI or a CAT scan, they ask me if I've ever had a severe brain trauma or a car accident or whatever. And I'm like, they were doing this when I was a kid. I'm like, I'm such and such years old. I don't have a driver's license, and DMV won't give me one anyway because of my seizure disorder, they're triggered by vibrations and stuff, so it would be a liability, which I understand. No problem. I still get around anyway. For the first few years of my life, when I wasn't confined to a wheelchair, I would lay on a blanket and gurgle. I could not move, could not talk. I couldn't even barely lift my head up. They told my parents and my aunt that raised me that I'd be a vegetable and probably wouldn't live to see my teen years. When we had to come to Baton Rouge from another city because of me watching my biological dad leave my mom to die in front of me when I was 6, we automatically went into the, me signed up once we got the school stuff straight for my therapy. I would go to Our Lady Lake outpatient. And that place, I'm sorry,
Take your time.
the nurses and the therapists, even knowing the situation I had just come out of, I wasn't, if you would have told me 15, even 10 years ago that I'd be sitting in front of you saying anything, I'd look at you like you were crazy. Because what I had been through, I was the shyest person in the world, much less Louisiana. But the nurses and the therapists did everything they could. I mean, I learned how to make what you take for granted, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my therapy clinic. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I learned how to function because my right side is my weak side. Because the left side of my brain is, when my dad did what he did to my mom, it affected the left side, so that affected the right side of my body. And so they taught me how to function with one side of my body. I mean, I can't use a stove because of the heat, heat and all that. But, I got a microwave. I know how to use that. I know how to use a crock pot. I mean, I can cook on the stove, but I don't because I'm scared. I know how I am. I mean, I have a burn on my leg from trying to shave. And I didn't even feel it till I looked at it one day. I mean, it's almost probably a second-degree burn. That's because of my pain sensation, but I wasn't really gonna get up here and say anything, even though a few years ago after Joey Lorette passed, had that situation happen to him where his daddy decapitated him because he had cerebral palsy. I contacted all of y'all that were here then, and Senator Morrell ended up being willing to pass a bill for me, was a SCR 15, to prevent, get people educated on how to deal with kids with disabilities. And I haven't really shut up since, but I wasn't gonna do anything this time. But because I'm like, these cuts are not gonna affect me now. But even though I waited 10 years to get on the waiver list. But by that time, I was in middle school, getting ready to go to high school. And then I just ended up going into, extracurricular higher ed stuff. And by the time I got out, got home, I still wasn't You know, they still hadn't got to my name, so I just told them, you know, when y'all do, give it to somebody that needs it, because I'm functionally independent, living on my own. And even though there's stuff I have challenges with and I can't do, prioritize human lives. They can't get up here and speak for themselves. And I feel that's why I was supposed to get up here, because even though I do have developmental problems from birth, I'm able and functionally independent to get up here and speak for them. I wouldn't be able to live with myself or sleep at night. I haven't slept the last 2 weeks anyway, knowing these kids are facing these cuts. When Bobby Jindal was head of DHH, I was going to occupational therapy with a little girl confined to a wheelchair. She wasn't between 8 and 10 years old. She couldn't do nothing for herself. She couldn't communicate, nonverbal and all that. And DHH had cuts. Jindal would not stop him, didn't do nothing to try to, you know, he did target the disabled back then. She had to go to therapy 5 days a week. I went 3. When those cuts went through, that girl's therapy days were slashed. She ended up dropping down to 1 or 2 days a week. She lost the assistive device they had just got for her grandmother to be able to learn how to communicate with her. And I don't even know what happened to that girl since. I mean, they got these, how in the world? I tweeted Governor Edwards last night. I said, I'm still trying to get used to somebody that actually is in the governor's office that does their job and cares about these people. And I just want y'all to know that as somebody that does have a disability, that it did affect back then, these kids cannot afford for y'all not to raise this revenue. Whether you gotta raise taxes, I mean, the alcohol lobbyists are ticking me off, because my dad was a severe alcoholic. He's got 20 years ago when he jammed the sheriff's department's printer when they was printing out his criminal record, when he came for my mom and tried to hurt her again. They printed out his criminal record. It was 8 feet long and the thing was still going. Had 17 DWIs. That was 25 years ago. I have severe brain damage from an alcoholic that led to domestic violence. His alcoholism led him to abuse my mom. He used her stomach as a punching bag when she was pregnant for me. And then I survived the pregnancy termination. But all that happened. And God allowed me to be in the situation I'm in now, to where I could be a voice for the ones that cannot speak for themselves. And I'm begging y'all, on behalf of those kids that cannot speak, they might not have been able to vote for you, but they are included in the constituents you represent. So remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy, we appreciate your testimony, and we thank God that you are still here to remind us on a daily basis, and we appreciate it. The board is clear.